Happy 2024 to you all. It's time to get the whiskey out of the old system and land a ride at Clár. So what does 2024 have in store for us? I suppose if we take it from a geopolitical point of view, let's think about the belligerent countries that dominate 2/3 of the world's landmass. Their strategy last year was they have the resources. We've learned that they have very deep resources. But what's the story with their people? Does the people support their regimes? At the beginning of the year, we discovered the likes of migrant warfare. I mentioned it a couple of weeks ago, actually. The whole idea is that those countries are stirring up trouble in those countries in Africa, in Middle East, and Asia as well, in order to send them to the borders, so that they can get into the borders of Europe and America. And the idea there being that by bringing them across the border, that they're somehow going to destabilize our countries. We see stage one of that in 2023. Furthermore, we saw them stirring up every sort of conflict in every part of the world. You've had what happened in Gaza there only a few weeks ago. We see the Houthi rebels as well. We also see trouble in Latin America, and the whole idea of that is to cause disruption to as many people's lives as possible. By doing that, they're challenging our values and our principles. And the question remains, do we stand idly by and watch those people drown in the sea and die on the borders? Or do we take them in and do the humanitarian thing? If we don't do the humanitarian thing, then we're no better than those guys. So, so that's what I see in that in 2024. We're going to see the consequence of that, good, bad, or ugly. In terms of the West and the superpower and America, what have they got in store for 2024? We have to take into consideration the fact that the West, being the UK and America and Europe, have been fighting since technically the Gulf War, way back in 1998, 1999. And over those 30 years, they have spent trillions trying to eliminate or neutralize the militant extremist philosophy, and it hasn't worked. What has worked was the whole idea of globalization and information technology. And over the course of the last 20, 30 years of globalization, it meant that companies working in America can become multinational companies, international companies, so that when the office closes at 5 o'clock in New York, the office opens in Dublin, to make it a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week office. The positives of that has meant that more of us have been lifted out of poverty and recession, including myself. A lot of us have seen the benefits of working from home throughout the pandemic as well. None of that would have been possible if it wasn't for globalization. However, on the dark side of it, it has allowed belligerent countries to take advantage of globalization, and we've seen ideas being pirated and copied. We've seen espionage over the last so many years as well. And as a consequence of that, America has definitely pulled back, and Europe is doing the same thing as well. And really, what's going forward, it seems to be a multipolar world where the friendly countries that genuinely want to collaborate will work, and the others will just have to see the error of their ways. Furthermore, we saw the information technology as as the consequence of information technology. More and more people have been educated around the world. It's lifted people out of poverty as well. However, it's coming to the end of that age, I see, in that it's devolving into cybersecurity and artificial intelligence and misinformation and propaganda and the likes of algorithms that can control the way we think and the way we feel, and the use and the abuse of information technology. So we've seen the beautiful side of it at the beginning, and now we're seeing the ugly side of it now. And 2024 will be interesting to see how we continue on, what trajectory we'll take with that. What else can I say from a national point of view? The defense forces, for the last 10-15 years, ever since the recession started, they have been pulling back, and now the numbers are down to a certain level. Now the government seems motivated to recruiting more into the defense forces, and that's only natural on account of the fact that when you think about it, in Mayo there's some 1,500 teenagers turning 13 every year in Mayo. So it stands to reason that there's some 1,300 souls being born into just the county of Mayo every year. So the country is growing, and it's not because of immigration, it's because of natural growth. So as a reaction to that, the defense forces in their they have to grow in concert with that as well. And we see that in the Navy. Last year they took in a pair of littoral class patrol boats to patrol the shores. We also learned there was a situation there back in June where a United States Navy ship was operating just off the coast of Ireland, and nobody was even aware of it. Furthermore, there are Russian submarines patrolling up and down along Ireland, and they are being seen off by the United States Navy and the Royal Air Force as well. And the reason why there's so much interest off the west coast of Ireland is on account of the subsea cables, those vitally important information technology cables that are running to Ireland, and they're a vital link between Europe and America. And it only stands to reason that the Irish government should invest more into the patrolling and the monitoring of our offshore assets. As a consequence of that, the defense forces have hinted that they are actually going to go about building radar and sonar installations on the mainland rather than at sea, and that's only as a response to the fact of all the activity that we do not know what's going on off the coast. And it's not very responsible for us to let our neighbors do all that work when we have the resources and the people available to do that kind of thing. On the Air Corps side of things as well, they took delivery of a new squadron of larger transport planes. I think they're the PC-9s. I'm not sure the CASA. Have a replacement for the maritime patrol aircraft, the CASA. They're looking to get an extended CASA patrol craft, and it will become a more multi-role aircraft in that it will have a much longer range. And we saw the importance of that when they were pulling Irish civilians out of Lebanon and Syria and other places as well. Like those CASA aircraft are very, very reliable machines, very robust, and they can take an awful lot of endurance. And it's good to see those propeller-driven aircraft being used to their fullest potential. The Irish Air Corps, in their Christmas message, they hinted that they want to become an Irish Air Force. And if that has to happen, there's certain criteria they have to meet. Could we see jets in 2024 or 2025? That'll be interesting to see. Also, in terms of Army, the Army Ranger Wing, they're also looking to change their name. They want to change their name to the Special Operations Force Ireland. And as a consequence to all their extended operations, we saw them hijack a ship off the coast and bring it in and commandeer it. And there was a drugs haul there. They want to expand the special forces into three distinct branches. You have sea, air, and land. And that only stands to reason because, for example, from the air side of things, special operations with drone technology, for example, is a lot of lessons are being learned in Ukraine. You can have drones that can be as small as an insect, and they are very good for counterintelligence, espionage, and surveillance. And on the other end, you have the types of the Global Hawk drone, or the RQ-9 Predator drone, extremely larger vehicles that are practically planes themselves. And special operations involving those drones, you need to have people trained up and qualified to operate those machines. Furthermore, the sea, it stands to reason. Ireland is an island, and we do need to have a maritime special operations force that's going to be busy. And on top of that, land special forces, that's going to be vital, especially when it's overseas and UN missions and any other types of missions that the Irish Army are looking into. What more can I say? Also, the Army Ranger Wing, or no, sorry, the Reserve Defence Forces, they've come out with a whole slew of they're recruiting at the moment. All the forces are recruiting, but I find it interesting to see that the reserves are. When you look at the military.ie website on the Reserve Defence Forces, it seems to be more. We're obviously warriors training to be warriors, but we're more students of war. And from what I see, from the amount of courses that are available to the Army Reserve, I'm sure that there's a whole slew of courses being made available to the Army, the Air Corps, and the Navy also. And it kind of stands to reason that, like, the main threats that are facing Ireland at the moment is cybersecurity and drone warfare. So it kind of stands to reason that if there's plenty of courses to train up at least a couple of thousand personnel in the lines of cybersecurity, for example, it's amazing what 1,000 people can do if they're all working together in terms of cybersecurity, in terms of identifying threats and dealing with them accordingly. And it's fascinating stuff. So there will probably be more of an emphasis on personnel to get involved with IT and cybersecurity. And furthermore, again, I said before, with drone warfare, it's taking warfare to a whole new level. You can't just be an infantry soldier anymore. You have to know how to operate those machinery. I did a podcast on what they've done in the Ukraine, where they have spotter drones that go out and hunt down targets. Once they spot the target, they can just relay the GPS coordinates of that target back to a killer drone. The killer drone makes a beeline straight out to that target, eliminates it, and then returns home. And that keeps the casualties on the friendly side down. What am I going to be doing as a military enthusiast? I'm going to be paying attention to all these things. Furthermore, I want to continue with my military enthusiast idea of maintaining my own personal fitness, maintaining my resilience, spiritual as well, charity, community work. And this year is particularly important to me because my best friend, Billy Keegan, it's his 25th anniversary, so I really want to do something special for him. So looking forward to seeing what 2024 has in store for us all. Take care.